Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, if any of you ever read it. And it's such a great book because it does talk about riches of, financially, but it talks about riches of mindset. It talks about riches of relationships. It talks about riches of community and what kind of legacy you want to leave. And I hope that he doesn't mind if I do this. I probably should have asked permission. Oh, the person that I'm getting ready to talk about, is actually asked to join the call. So I'm going to wait for him to come on. There he is. Hey, Adrian, how are you this morning?
Guys, how you doing?
Good. I'm actually going through my notes for this morning. We're actually, I'm going to be talking a little bit about from Think and Grow Rich. And one of the things I was telling them is that I was talking to someone this weekend, and I hope he doesn't mind if I share something we talked about, and then you actually came on. So I promise I'm not going to tell any secrets. But I just want to talk about the fact that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is, I know we talk a lot about wealth and wealth building and investment and all of these different things so that you guys can live the life that you desire and you can help other people. And Think and Grow Rich is also about abundant thinking and how we can help others, how we can come from contribution, and how we can really build wealth, not for ourselves, but for what it can do for others. I mean, guys, I never realized until recently that a lot of the decisions I make about what I'm going to do or how hard I'm going to work or the decisions that I'm going to make, I was always at the center of it. And I'm just being vulnerable with you here. I'm sure I'm the only one who's ever done that, right? On this call, I'm the only one who's ever made decisions with me at the center of it, with yourself at the center of it. But, as you surround yourself with people who give and give and give because they themselves have received, Think and Grow Rich takes on a completely different meaning. And I was talking to Adrian this weekend, and Adrian, there's no doubt about it. I tell these guys all the time on this call how much you have impacted my family. And I told Adrian, I'm like, gosh, I've just never been around someone like you who's just so willing to give of your time and talent and resources. And Adrian was telling me a story about someone, and I'm not going to tell the whole story because we don't have long, but basically about a story about how he was in a room full of people that were celebrating one person. And it was all of the things that this person had done to help others and how this person had impacted a room full of very successful people. Right, Adrian? They were very successful people.
Yeah, Mike Tabner. He's one of the reasons that I joined Keller Williams. And he in that room was I'll never forget that room that day. There was agents like Mike Brody there. I told you there was top agents and regional directors there, and all sorts of people that their life had been dramatically impacted by this one person and the lessons that he taught them, which was so cool. I said, I want to be that guy one day. We're talking about Mike Tabner, which that would be tough to beat him. He was one of a kind. And we had talked about dedicating our training room to him too.
Yeah. And the thing about it is I asked Adrian, I said, how did you get in this mindset to just want to help other people? And he said, Becky, I wasn't always this way, but I was in this room, or I didn't always have this mindset. And I was in this room and I was like, wow, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. And so when we talk on this call every single day, every single week about doing what you do for others at the center of it, we really do mean that, because the reality is that you cannot give what you don't have. You guys get that? You cannot give what you don't have. And how many times do we see others in need or others in need of something, and we aren't able to give it because we don't have it? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be there. And so that's why we're reading books like Think and Grow Rich, Profit First, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's not about you being at the center of it. It's about your ability to put others in the center of it. Right, Adrian?
100%. I think we can ask ourselves those questions every single day. And why you could just say to yourself right now, why do you do what you do? Right? Why are you doing what you're doing today? Look at your schedule and why are you doing that? Because one deal or one extra sale isn't going to change anything. It's not. It's not going to change one thing. But the cumulative, all those deals added up, and then you take that and you say, all right, well, okay, that money goes in the bank. And then what? Like, what's the point of what is the point of all of those things? So you just, once you discover that, once you start to go down that path, you had talked about in the beginning that when you woke up, you need to, it was something, your words, but a little motivation, kick in the butt just to get going. But when you really have that down on paper and you really identify what it is that makes you tick and what it is that makes you work so hard, and you have that down, and then you share it with others, I think that's the biggest part that I didn't hear because you share it with this group, but sharing with others, I think, is the biggest part, because that'll put major accountability on everything right there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was reading back again in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And if you haven't read it, it's such a great read. It's actually an even better listen on Audible. And he said, a quote from him is, success. So going along with what Adrian said about writing it down and sharing it with others, success comes to those who become success conscious. Failure comes to those who allow themselves to become failure conscious. So your brain can be set up for failure or success. It's up to you to decide which you want to pursue. It's up to you. So guys, if you've been on this call with me, I don't know, for the last 6 months, if it's to be, it's up to who? Me. Yeah. If it's to be, it's up to me. So I want to talk to you for a second about unwavering desire. So you're going to want to write some things down. So make sure you've got something, write this down. If you're driving, Diane Vila, do not write down, honey. You just listen. You can write down later, right? Yeah. Terry said, what you put out to the universe comes back to you. Yes, it does. It does. All right. So Napoleon Hill goes through this conversation, and Adrian probably remembers this, and any of you that have ever read Think and Grow Rich, you remember about the family that was mining for gold. And it got really, really hard. They found some gold in the beginning, and then it got really, really hard because it dried up and they weren't finding any gold, and they gave up. And then another gold miner came in and dug 3 more feet and hit one of the biggest veins of gold of its day. Many give up right before they're ready to have their breakthrough, right? Many give up right before they're ready to have their breakthrough. And why? Because in some of us, there is an absence of unwavering desire. Unwavering desire. And maybe it's not an absence. I said that wrong, but it's a lack of clarity about it. That's a better way to put it. It's a lack of clarity. You might have desire inside, but the lack of clarity hasn't made it unwavering. And so I'm going to give you 3 tools in your toolbox to develop unwavering desire. Okay. And this is straight from Napoleon Hill. So whatever it is you so desire, whatever it is you want to achieve, we can all agree that many times it's going to get harder before it gets easier, right? Raise your hand. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. It all, when you are asked to go to a new level, you have more that's going to come against you at that new level. And so a commitment and an unwavering desire within you that's clear, that's written down, that's documented, that you look at every single day will help you commit to it. So here's the 3 things. 1, control your thoughts. Write this down. Control your thoughts. Tell yourself what you want. Number 2, be specific. Number 3, create a plan to get it. So under the heading of control your thoughts, which is your number 1 mission, The way to do that is to tell yourself what you want, be specific, and create a plan to get it. A few months ago, this was actually something Adrian blessed me with, was a vision board where he put it together, and he's got this funding mechanism right in the center of it. And that funding mechanism is his real estate, and it funds all these other things that he wants to achieve. And I created one, and it's on the wall. It's on my wall here in my house. It's on my wall in my office, and I see it every day, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, keep going, keep pushing, just one foot in front of the other, take the next step. Yes.
The other thing that I love about that vision board is that, back to the one deal doesn't break you or make you, it doesn't break you. So if you're looking at the vision board as the big picture of the year, you don't get caught up on the little hurdles. You don't get caught up on the little obstacles. That's the thing that slows people down. You're like, is this going to affect my year? Like, because I got mine right here. Is this going to affect this situation I'm in right now, this day, this problem? Is that going to affect my big year I'm going to have? And when I look back, I achieved all the things I wanted to achieve. Is this thing going to affect that? And usually the answer is no.
That's right. I love that too. I know that when I first came to Naples, I had a lot of stress. I'm sharing a lot of things with you guys. I had a lot of stress around, I wasn't hitting this monthly goal and I wasn't hitting this monthly goal. And Adrian would say, we're focusing on the activities, not the results. And it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's the cumulative effect of time on task over time. All right, so the second thing, once you create that plan, write it down and read it to yourself 2 times per day. Write it down and read it to yourself 2 times per day. So let me ask you this, and you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but how many of you actually do have a plan written down or some kind of vision board? Raise your hand. Great, you're already over half the way there. Now it's reading it to yourself 2 times a day. So the minute your feet hit the floor after you get coffee, if you're me, because I don't think until I've had some Java. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't compute, like the brain freezes, right? And once I sit down and I start thinking about my day, I'm sure I'm the only one that starts thinking of all the overwhelming things I got to get done today. Am I the only one who thinks that? Right? Like all the overwhelming things I got to get done for the day. And so what I will do is I will stop and I will come into my office and I will look at my vision board and I will say, okay, what are the things I have to do today that are going to achieve that?
Hey, Becky, one other thing too, there's a couple agents on this call. I'm not going to call them out, but we've talked about this. And one of them happens to be maybe running right now with his headphones on, but I'm not going to say who it is. There he is. So it's sharing it with your family, right? It's sharing with your loved ones and to get their buy-in and their support, because it's the people around you sometimes are the ones that stop you, right? It's the people around you that slow you down because they're not understanding of what you want. And so the people that are closest to you are the ones sometimes that slow you down, and they have the biggest impact. So it's sharing it with others and making sure that they get your plan. Listen, here's my plan. What do you think about this? This is where I'm going. Right. So I think that's a big part of this, is that it's the sharing part that gets you that extra 30% of potential success. Did you talk about that Harvard study in any of these calls that was done?
I think I did. It was a long time ago. And when I say a long time ago, 2020, but go ahead.
Yeah, there was this group of Harvard graduates that were asked about how many of them had achieved their goals after X amount of years. And then there was 3 categories. There was people that didn't make goals, right? They just had them in their head. They didn't talk about them, write them down, anything like that. They just thought about them. And then I think it was only about 55-60% actually hit their goal, right? And then the ones that wrote it down jumped up another 20%. Like they actually had a higher chance of achieving their goals because they had an actual plan written down. And then the ones that shared it with others, it was another 20% on top of that achieved their goals. So you can increase your chances of achieving your goals just by writing it down and then sharing it with the people closest to you. You have a 40% higher chance than not writing it down. So just based on that, how hard is that? I mean, think about that. Those odds are too good to pass up just by writing it down and sharing it. And I think a lot of the reasons people don't share it is because they don't feel like they're worthy of getting it. And why is it that you wouldn't share it? Think about that. Why wouldn't you share it? It's because you say, I'm not worthy of this plan. This plan isn't real. I don't deserve this plan, right? Or this plan's dumb, or this plan's stupid, or you feel like you're going to be judged, right? What's the real reason you wouldn't share it? Think about that deeply. Everyone's got a different one, but there's a reason, and it's a silly reason in the end. Whatever the reason is, it's a silly reason because it's your plan, not somebody else's.
Wow, there's so much freedom in that, right? There's so much freedom in that. It's your plan, not somebody else's. So much freedom in that. Thanks, Adrian. I love it. So after number 2, writing it down and reading it to yourself 2 times per day and sharing it with your family. Add that one. Kim Jones, I have to read this. She said, love the idea of reading board 2 times per day and sharing with my family. I haven't been bold enough to share with my family yet because it's scary, right? It is scary. And Adrian just talked about that a little bit. So dig into that. Don't skim over fear, guys. Dig into it and understand the reason for it. Because once you understand the reason for it, you will realize that you have the opportunity to affect it and do something about it, right? You're not powerless in that moment. Here's number 3, and then I want to hear some ahas from this. Have faith. And faith is hard because it's invisible. It's not seen. But having faith, you can create faith by telling yourself what you want to believe. Believe it or not, your brain is very susceptible to the words that come out of your mouth. So the man saith, the mind follows. I probably didn't say that right, but it's whatever you say, your mind is going right along with it. Your cells eavesdrop on your thoughts. I'm talking about your brain, right? So when you speak it out loud and you tell yourself what you want to believe, your brain gets it. It's called autosuggestion. Let me read to you what Napoleon Hill, guys, I don't know that Napoleon Hill wrote this book like back in the 30s. I mean, this is pretty forward thinking for back when he wrote this book. Okay, so it's visualization and affirmations. Visualization and affirmations. You get yourself into a peak state. How many know who Tony Robbins is? He talks about this peak state all the time, getting yourself some kind of action, some kind of visualization, some kind of verbalization to get yourself into a peak state ready for the day. So give yourself demands. So like this morning, Becky, you're going to be confident in this idea and you are not going to stop when things get tough. And things are going to get tough. Don't be surprised by it. And say that over and over, but you will prevail and you will prevail. It's your verbal manifesto, right? Your verbal manifesto about giving yourself affirmations. All right, I'm going to open it up now. We've got 6 minutes left. How is this speaking to you? How is it impacting you? What are your ahas?
Real quick, Kim Jones and Amanda had a couple chats there in the chat box. And one of them said, Kim said that it's just scary sharing it with the family. And Amanda said that it's really hard for me because I don't understand and they can't wrap their head around it. I think when you think about that, this is the way I look at it. I'm very visual with things. And people like to stick together, right? Like, do we all agree on that? Like, people like to hang out with others, like them, right? We all agree on that. Yes. Like, you want to be around people like you, right? So imagine if there's a race being run and someone's ahead of you and then you want to catch up to them, right? You want to catch up to that person to get to where they are in the race. But if you're ahead of them, that person behind you, they either want to catch up or they want to pull you back to where they are. And they're not doing it intentionally. They're not doing it to hurt you and slow you down, but they just don't want you getting too far ahead that they can't catch up, right? So it's not that they're intentionally hurting you or trying to stop you. It's that they don't want you to be so far removed from where they are that that you're too far away, you're in a different position. And I've had that happen in my life. Becky, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
You have to admit, they're not doing it to hurt you. They're doing it because they don't want you to be so far ahead that they're not in your world anymore and that they can't catch up.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, Adrian, going along with what you said and what Amanda said, is I get it, right? Like, I get what you're saying about your family not understanding. Like, if I were to sit down and have any of this conversation with like my sisters or my mom or different, like, they get it, but they don't get it because it's just different than what they're experiencing. But here's what their experience has been, or what they've been opened up to. It's completely different. And yet what Amanda just said is so true. When we can verbalize it to our families, then it creates clarity for you and for them. Then you've got it, right? You've got it. You've got it written down where your unwavering desire kicks in. Tell yourself what you want, be specific. And so when you can get really clear on how to deliver that message to your family and your loved ones and your friends, then it becomes more real for you and it becomes more real for them. And I think what Adrian just said about not getting left behind, you bring them with you. You make them a part of it. And sometimes, let's be real, sometimes they won't get on board, and it is what it is. But and more often than not, when your family loves you, they will get on board. It's just that they don't understand and they're afraid that you're going to leave them behind. And so when you bring them with you, it gives them an inclusivity into that moment that you're going for. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think that when you share it with the people closest to you, it will be one of the most freeing moments of your life.
Yeah.
It'll be one of the most, you will remember that moment forever, because it's something that you have been afraid of or scared of, or it's a little weird, or whatever it is that's going through your head as far as why you wouldn't share it. That moment will be one of the most freeing moments you'll ever remember. And if you're driving away from that moment or walking away from that moment, it's going to be so vividly clear in your head. Just like you said, the clarity will be there all over it. It'll be such clarity. You know what? You're like, yes. And if you start to doubt yourself, ask yourself why you're doubting yourself. It means that you're letting that person pull you back. That's what it means. Because there's always the what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if I don't make it, and what if I say this and then it doesn't happen and then I look bad. Right? Those are the demons trying to keep you back too, right? That's how I see it. Yeah.
Pride and ego. I will tell you guys, pride and ego, that's when that shows up, right? When I tell people what level is your ego having a fit right now, I don't mean to say that you're an egotistical person. I'm talking about when my ego, so I really know how to describe things for me more than someone else. And what I can tell you is my ego shows up. Adrian knows this about me. My ego shows up when I want to look good and be right. Oh, and I know when it's happening. I want to look good and be right. I'm the only one who has that problem, right? I'm the only one. But that's what happens is we want to look good and be right. And then we have to say, okay, my ego's having a fit right now because this is what's happening, right? Whenever we put ourselves in the center of it. And yet at the same time, we always say, what if this doesn't work? Or what if this doesn't work? Like Adrian was saying, and I like to ask the agents that I coach, is I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Go all the way to the worst thing. Okay, so if that's the worst thing, that's really what's stopping you. Because the worst thing is always scarier than what it really is. We've got something in the chat box from Jen Steyer. She says, my aha moment is I do this without fear with my family. We write out and have regular family meetings regarding family goals and what our dream family looks like and talk about how to get there. But why do I struggle with fear in sharing my business goals the same way? Adrian, what do you think about that?
I would just ask yourself, why is that? Just really, what is the reason why you think you struggle? Is it that you think you can't do it? Because if you knew you could do it, why would you struggle? So what is it about that that's holding you back? That's how I think about it. Because I think everyone on this call, we all believe in you. It's a real estate world. We say, of course you could do it. You know, your peers here at the office say, of course you could do it. Look at you. You're already doing it. You're on your path. But I think it's just that thought of that you think you may not be able to do it. And I'm not talking about Joe, I'm talking about anybody. And that's why you wouldn't share, because if you knew you could do it, you would share it, right? If you knew 100%, it's back to that faith thing you talked about, right, Becky? It's that because it hasn't been achieved yet, it is faith because it's not there, it's not real. So it is stepping outside of an area where you don't know, where you can't see and touch, because it's a future thing that you don't have yet.
Right.
So, but it just comes down to, how do you know that you're going to have those moments with your family? That's not real yet. Those things haven't happened yet. That trip or that thing you're going to do with the family. So what is the difference? Right?
I love that. And sometimes it's easier to be vulnerable with our families than it is to everybody else, right?
The other thing is too with the family is that they have buy-in because they're part of it. Right? That family is part of the plan. And so when you're bringing in the business part of it, I like what you said, that make them part of the plan. Right? Make them part of the plan. When I get up and when I go to work, here's how we can work together to help me achieve this.
Right.
I'm out there doing that. And so by not including them in the plan, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your family, really, because if you think about it, the more money you can make, the more that means you can allow more freedom for yourself and your family to have more of those family moments.
The last thing I'll say on that too, Jen, is that there are people, like Adrian just said, I guarantee you everybody on this call looks at you and says, oh my gosh, she can so do it, right? I mean, do you guys believe that about Jen Steyer? I mean, she's all over Facebook. She can.
Of course, yes.
Of course she can do it. So share, girl. You've got a tribe of people that believe in you. Find your tribe. All right. Has this been helpful for Motivational Monday? Motivational Monday. You guys, I love you so much. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow morning. We're going to dig back into profit first, because we know that the more we have, the more we can share and do for others. And that is, it's just such a good feeling. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow, announcement, team meeting, right? Don't miss it.
Oh yeah, so there's people on this call that are not a part of Keller Williams, but if you're part of Keller Williams and Keller Williams Naples, we've got a rocking announcement to make tomorrow. It's going to make everybody smile. Well, actually cheer. You'll probably get up and actually do a dance.
Motivational announcement.
Motivational announcement. That's right. It's a Beckyism. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.